College Station apartment of 19-year-old Texas student Sarah Elizabeth Furay was raided in November of 2015 after the authorities suspected her of selling drugs. In the teen's bedroom, local law enforcement found a vast supply of illegal substances that included 31.5 grams of cocaine, 29 ecstasy tablets, 60 dosage units of a drug similar to LSD, more than 4 ounces of marijuana, cough syrup, and painkillers. Also seized were a scale and a pricing list written by hand. Furay was taken into custody on 3 felony charges for manufacturing and delivery of a controlled substance, in addition to marijuana possession charges. An examination of her cell phone revealed thousands of messages pertaining to drug deals, indicating that Furay had been operating as a dealer for some time. Her smiling mugshot gained international attention, and the woman became known as the adorable drug kingpin. Further fueling the attention generated by the case was the fact that Furay's father, William, worked for the Drug Enforcement Agency. In the mid-2010s, he'd led a team of DEA agents in Panama, and at the time of his daughter's arrest, he'd been promoted to Assistant Special Agent in charge in Houston. Furay faced decades in prison, but in October of 2020, a plea deal was reached in which she admitted 2 first-degree felony drug trafficking charges, 1 second-degree felony drug dealing charge, and a separate charge for marijuana possession. Furay was sentenced to 8 years in prison, and her sullen expression in the mugshot taken after sentencing contrasted the apparent exuberance displayed in her previous one. Number 9. Mississippi frat brothers. In the fall of 2015, 5 frat brothers from the University of Mississippi were arrested after they were accused of brutally beating another student. The incident occurred on October the 6th of 2015 at the Sigma Pi fraternity house in Oxford, of which junior accounting major Jeremy Boyle was a member, as reported by the Daily Mississippian. He was treated at Baptist Memorial Hospital, North Mississippi, for injuries that included a concussion, several broken teeth, a ruptured eardrum, and a lung contusion. Arrested for the attack were James Declan Basile, Christian Guy, Austin Rice, Kyle Hughes, and Tucker Cole Style. All but the latter were photographed widely grinning in their mugshots. Straight-faced freshman Style faced the most serious accusation, as he was charged with felony assault in Boyle's beating. Speaking to a local media outlet about the incident, student Ryan Z. Gray described the frat brothers' reaction as disgusting, adding, "How could you be happy?" Further investigation revealed that the 5 accused were members of the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity. They went to the Sigma Pi house with the purpose of temporarily removing a concrete donkey on top of the building. The prank went horribly wrong when Boyle went to the backyard to investigate the commotion, thus leading to the altercation. The 5 were kicked out of their fraternity and disciplined by Ole Miss in the aftermath. Updates on the matter indicated that charges against all of the smiling suspects were dismissed, as it was deemed they didn't meet the burden of proof and only Styles' felony case remained. Number 8. Sarah Folks. Hours after celebrating her 27th birthday with her husband of 4 years, Texas biology teacher Sarah Folks surrendered to Caldwell County deputies after she'd been accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a student. The investigation had begun following a tip-off from Lockhart High School officials on March the 10th of 2017, less than 2 weeks before Folks turned herself in. Folks was suspected of having had relations with an unnamed male teenager, in addition to exchanging explicit texts. The teacher smiled widely in her mugshot, which attracted considerable media attention given the severity of her charges. Folks' lawyer at the time claimed that the expression was an indication of her innocence, telling a media outlet, "This isn't a guilty person sitting there like they just got caught." In October of the following year, however, Folks admitted the improper relationship and submitted a plea agreement to a Caldwell County judge that would see her serve 4 years deferred adjudication, surrendering her teaching license and pay a fine. Number 7. Arrest in the US. The social media page Mugshots, an account that shared the mugshots of felons considered attractive, uploaded a photo in the winter of 2022. It showed a blue-eyed, red-haired woman in her 20s displaying a mischievous smile. The mugshot went viral, leading to many users commenting that the unnamed woman appeared to be under demonic possession. Some of the comments were plays on words derived from the added detail that she'd been taken into custody for marijuana possession. One user wrote that the image was the definition of the word sinister, while another quipped, "Clearly, the marijuana possessed her. Free her and get her to an exorcist." Number 6. Ashley England, Sammy Whaley, and Mary Jordan. On June the 8th of 2016, 3 women from Sandusky, Ohio, assaulted a McDonald's worker in Bellevue because they believed she was moving too slowly while dealing with their orders. 33-year-old Mary Jordan, along with Ashley England and Sammy Whaley, aged 29 and 31 respectively, waited for the female worker to finish her shift and then charged her. The specifics of the assault weren't disclosed, but the worker was reported to have been injured and she quit her job in the aftermath. An examination of the surveillance footage led to the trio's arrest, and during processing, Jordan and English posed while smiling, seemingly satisfied with what they'd done, while Whaley's demeanor was arguably tamer. All 3 were charged with assault, but Jordan and England also faced child endangerment charges because their children were present during the attack. The latter charges were dropped after they pleaded no contest to assault later in the year. Whaley was fined $100 and placed on non-reporting probation. England and Jordan, believed to have played a greater role in the incident, were jailed for 65 days and would also have to serve 55 days of house arrest upon the completion of their custodial sentences. Number 5. Justin J. Paul. 22-year-old Michigan man Justin J. Paul made headlines in 2017 following the release of his mugshot, which showed him smiling while having blood on his face. The circumstances surrounding the photo added to the case's notoriety, as Paul had been arrested for brutally murdering his own mother. 50-year-old Jeanette Paul's body was found on December the 20th at her home along the 6100 block of North Walton in Westland. The woman's throat had been slit and she'd been stabbed in the back multiple times. Paul became the primary suspect in the murder, and he was located later in the day in the area of Joy Road and Donna Street on the Livonia-Westland border. He had a knife in the front pocket of his pants when the police found him. A struggle ensued between him and an arresting officer, during the course of which Paul was shot in the thigh. He received treatment and was taken into custody. Paul wasn't reported to have had problems with his mother, and his mental health was considered to have been a central factor in the killing, as he suffered from bipolar disorder and ADHD. According to his father, on January the 15th of 2019, Paul pleaded guilty but mentally ill to second-degree murder under a deal that saw the first-degree murder charge dropped. He was sentenced to no fewer than 18 and no more than 60 years in prison. Number 4. Shaun Paul Melon-Aras. Following his beaming mugshot captured in the summer of 2021, Texas man Shaun Paul Melon-Aras was dubbed by Newsweek America's happiest criminal. In August, the 36-year-old picked up items from the Door of Hope thrift store in Odessa and left without paying. Upon being confronted by 2 Good Samaritans, Melon-Aras threatened them with a large rock. One of the men later reported that he feared for his life and thus brandished a firearm, letting off a warning shot. He and the other man then chased Melon-Aras and performed a citizen's arrest, detaining him until the arrival of law enforcement. Upon being interviewed by the police, Melon-Aras tried to lie about his identity, but officers were able to establish who he really was. Moreover, they found that he had a warrant out for a parole violation and also found methamphetamine on him. He was thus charged with robbery, false identification, parole violation, and possession of methamphetamine. It was suspected that the latter charge might have had something to do with the unhinged smile that Melon-Aras displayed during his booking photo. Number 3. Chris Johnson. Following his arrest on suspicion of DUI on July the 25th of 2015, Texas man Chris Johnson was shown in his mugshot smiling while held by his shirt and with a hand in his throat. Johnson, who later filed a lawsuit against the Harris County Sheriff's Office, reported that the strange photo had been taken following a dispute with the deputies. They demanded that he stop smiling for his mugshot, but the man reportedly replied that it was how he always took his photos. A deputy then allegedly told him, "If you don't stop smiling, we're going to make you stop smiling." Court records indicated that 3 officers held Johnson by the neck for about 30 seconds, making it difficult for him to breathe as the photo was taken. Their actions, which Johnson alleged in his lawsuit had caused him significant pain and mental anguish, ultimately proved futile, as the accused drunk driver was still able to let off a smile. Today's topic was requested by Angel Downing 3008 and Tom Billard 5264. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Chicago arrest. Whatever they said he did it, one user commented after the mugshot of a young man arrested in Chicago went viral on social media in February of 2024. The black hoodie-wearing suspect looked straight into the camera and displayed a menacing smile, which many users described as terrifying, comparing him to Pennywise or the Green Goblin. The man's identity and charges remained unclear, but one user joked that he should be given 10 years based on the mugshot alone. The post, shared to X by Daily Loud on February the 13th, rose to nearly 20 million views and was liked over 140,000 times. If you can't get enough of these mugshot stories, then stay tuned till after number 1, because we're serving up for you 13 insane mugshots you never knew existed. Number 1. Wilman Sandoval. Texas man Wilman Sandoval was arrested and charged with 3 felony counts of aggravated assault against family members. In January of 2024, Sandoval grabbed a pistol and shot his teenage brother as well as his brother's 26-year-old fiancée at his family's Houston home. One of the victims was struck 6 times while the other was shot at twice and hit once in the head. Sandoval was also reported to have aimed the weapon at a 3rd relative but didn't fire. After they were taken to a local hospital, the fiancée was reported as being in very critical condition and her partner was said to be in serious condition. They were eventually stabilized through treatment and expected to recover. 23-year-old Sandoval, who took a smiling mugshot after being taken into custody, was said to have opened fire on his family because he believed they were performing witchcraft on him. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez told Fox 26, apparently, this caught everyone by surprise, as all members of the family were in the apartment when the shooting occurred. Gonzalez added that he was unsure whether Sandoval had a criminal record or a history of mental health problems. After a spree of car burglaries and attempted break-ins along Janice Drive in Spotswood, New Jersey, the culprit Shanana Hillsman was finally arrested. Surveillance footage revealed that on 3 separate occasions between January the 13th and February the 1st of 2019, Hillsman entered people's driveways and tried to break into their cars. When law enforcement caught the 32-year-old on February the 1st, she was in possession of various tools including a screwdriver, hammer, and flashlight. She was jailed on charges of burglary, criminal trespass, and possession of burglary tools. In her mugshot, Hillsman was photographed with her two middle fingers up and directed at the camera. Records indicated that she was then transported to a correctional facility while awaiting a court date. Number 12. Misty Leman. 40-year-old Misty Leman from Bowling Green, Kentucky, ended up in handcuffs after showing up to court intoxicated on July the 2nd of 2019. Leman was appearing before a judge in connection with a previous arrest. According to police, when her purse was searched, security found a small bag of what was suspected to be crystal meth. She claimed it was crushed Zofran, a medication used to prevent nausea. Nevertheless, Leman was charged with public intoxication, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of drug paraphernalia. She was booked at the Warren County Regional Jail on a $1,000 bond. After her mugshot was published online, it went viral because of her severe facial features, which had been worsened by heavy drug use. In an interview with WBKO in October of 2020, Leman said she was trying to turn her life around and had been sober for 14 months. She revealed that she'd been in and out of jail 15 times throughout her life. The woman added that it wasn't just addiction to meth that changed her physical appearance, but also various autoimmune diseases including bone cancer, lupus, and scleroderma. Number 11. Michelle Allen. Police in Middletown, Ohio, arrested a woman wearing a cowsuit on the night of September the 27th of 2008. 32-year-old Michelle Allen, dressed as a bovine, was chasing children in the 3100 block of Wilbraham Road and also urinated on a neighbor's porch. After law enforcement responded, an officer ordered the woman to go home. Then at around 11 p.m. police were called to the 2400 block of North Verity Avenue after receiving reports that Allen was blocking traffic. The resulting arrest report indicated that Allen had the smell of alcohol on her breath, slurred speech, a belligerent attitude, and verbally abused officers. Local police noted that this was Allen's 50th time being arrested. Major Mark Hoffman said that even after that many arrests, it was still a surprise to see Allen back in handcuffs. The woman appeared in court days after her arrest, still wearing the cow suit she donned in her booking photo, and was reportedly telling people to suck her udders. Allen pleaded guilty to one count of disorderly conduct and was sentenced to 30 days behind bars. Investigators said that they believed the reason she was wearing the costume was because she'd been engaged in some promotional activities for a local haunted trail. Number 10. Dustin Jacob Williams. On the afternoon of April the 24th of 2006, Oregon man Dustin Jacob Williams was arrested for brandishing what appeared to be a handgun outside a school in Beaverton. According to law enforcement, the 20-year-old, who was wearing red and black face paint, allegedly pressed the gun into a student's stomach in the parking lot of Conestoga Middle School. He then pointed the weapon at the building and pulled the trigger before riding off on his skateboard. Parents who witnessed the incident reported it to the police, and the school briefly went into lockdown. Williams was later apprehended a few blocks away. He was in possession of a BB gun, which had been made to look like a Glock. He told police that he was showing the replica gun to friends before admitting that he probably shouldn't have been doing it near a school. In his mugshot, Williams was still wearing the red and black face paint and flashed a ghoulish grin for the camera. Number 9. Brooks Royal. A man who was arrested for crashing his car at a railroad crossing in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, appeared to be smiling and waving his hand in his resulting mugshot. The incident unfolded shortly before 2 a.m. on March the 25th of 2019, when 36-year-old Brooks Royal crashed his vehicle on the train tracks near Vine Street. With his car stuck, Royal fled the scene but was later tracked down and taken into custody. He was booked at the Dearborn County Law Enforcement Center, charged with leaving the scene of an accident and operating while intoxicated. According to an arrest affidavit, deputies observed that the suspect had unsteady balance, slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, and emanated a strong odor of alcohol. By the next morning, the sheriff's office website had posted a new mugshot of Royal, in which he was no longer smiling. Number 8. Nicholas Ruthenberg. Florida man Nicholas Ruthenberg was accused of crashing his car while driving the wrong way down a street in Vero Beach on the afternoon of August the 30th of 2021. After 25-year-old Ruthenberg slammed his car into an oncoming vehicle, he fled the scene on foot but was subsequently apprehended and taken to the Indian River County Sheriff's Office. The other motorist was rushed to the hospital but reportedly had no life-threatening injuries. Upon arrival at the sheriff's office, Ruthenberg refused to remain still while posing for a booking photo and was shown struggling with officers as the picture was taken. Several officers held the man's head in an attempt to get him to face the camera. Ruthenberg consented to a breathalyzer test which showed that no alcohol was in his system. He was then asked to provide a urine sample to determine if there were any chemical or controlled substances present. The arrest report indicated that when he was asked to provide the sample, he began to take his pants off and spread his buttocks. Unable to determine the cause of Ruthenberg's odd behavior, the investigators brought in a drug recognition expert. According to the expert, Ruthenberg's erratic behavior was consistent with someone under the influence of a central nervous system stimulant. Ruthenberg was charged with leaving the scene of an accident causing serious bodily injury and DUI. After posting a $2,000 bond, he remained free while awaiting his arraignment at the Indian River County Courthouse, where he'd reportedly gotten married just hours before the wrong-way car crash. Number 7. Gabriel Harris. In November of 2014, Gabriel Harris's booking image, in which he appeared with a wounded forehead and a big frown, captured the media's attention. The 33-year-old and his wife were at a Taco Bell drive-thru in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, in the early hours of November the 16th. Harris was inebriated and got into an altercation at the drive-thru. After staff allegedly refused to take his order, workers subsequently dialed 911 and told the dispatcher that the couple were shaking a window trying to break it open. The staff also claimed that the couple were taking pictures of the employees and that they refused to leave when asked to do so. When officers arrived, they found Harris on a bicycle near the menu speaker. After asking him to leave, they spotted a red Swiss Army knife on his belt and tried to reach for it. Harris grabbed the officer's wrist and was wrestled to the ground, at which point he was placed under arrest. He reportedly suffered a scraped forehead as a result of the physical struggle. Harris was booked into jail on a $1,000 bond, charged with resisting arrest with violence. Days later, his wife, Sarah Halliburton, claimed that the police had used excessive force during the arrest, saying they were unnecessarily brutal. Halliburton was reportedly planning to file a formal complaint about the officer's treatment of her husband. Number 6. Kelsey Stephen Smith. In Kelsey Stephen Smith's mugshot taken on June the 19th of 2012, he was bloody and stuck his tongue out while officers tried holding his head forward. Earlier, Florida deputies had responded to a Deltona intersection where they found a silver Audi that was parked but still running. Smith was sitting in the driver's seat and smelled of alcohol, according to the incident report. When the 29-year-old was asked to participate in field sobriety exercises, he refused to exit the car. He subsequently became resistant and was tasered twice before being placed in handcuffs. While being transported to the station, Smith apparently cracked his own face on the roof of the patrol car. Once Smith's nose started to bleed, he spit blood at several deputies, telling them he had AIDS. Officials said that the man also claimed to have hepatitis C and was purposely contaminating the patrol car. At the station, Smith continued to struggle with deputies. The Daily Mirror reported that eventually his none too pleasant image was taken. Smith was charged with driving under the influence and obstructing officers without violence. He was held on $2,500 and $1,000 cash bonds for the charges, respectively. Number 5. Sheran Depino. On August the 21st of 2015, police were dispatched to 289 Main Street in the Brookview Terrace condominium development in Spotswood, New Jersey, in connection with a disturbance report. When officers arrived, shortly after 9 p.m., they allegedly found Sheran Depino, Michael Depino, and Esther Nitch drinking alcohol in the parking lot, while the former played loud music from her car. Sheran, who was in her late 40s, began yelling at the officers and refusing to comply with their orders, which included turning down the music. Michael also refused to comply, causing the situation to escalate. Michael and Sheran, whom police said were intoxicated, were arrested and charged with interference with police. The pair, together with Nitch, were also facing charges of public consumption of alcohol. Sheran, who stuck her tongue out in her booking photo, was additionally charged with being a public nuisance. Records indicated that all three were processed and released while awaiting a date in municipal court. Number 4. Dwayne Longacre. After a 5-day crime spree, 27-year-old Dwayne Longacre from Plymouth, Indiana, was arrested on January the 31st of 2012. Law enforcement reportedly spotted Longacre driving a stolen vehicle. When they tried to pull him over, he sprayed anhydrous ammonia from a tank in the vehicle, leaving multiple officers with burning eyes and difficulty breathing. The ensuing high-speed pursuit ended when Longacre mounted the sidewalk, cleared a stone wall and crashed into a tree. He then bolted from the totaled car and dove into a nearby river. He was subsequently pulled out of the water, handcuffed, and transported to a hospital for treatment of the injuries he sustained in the crash. While at the hospital, Longacre was outfitted with a yellow crayon bandage which was later shown in his mugshot. He was booked at the St. Joseph County Jail on several charges, including auto theft, possession of a handgun, and assaulting law enforcement. Indiana Department of Correction jail records indicated that Longacre was found guilty of the charges and sentenced to a total of 2 years of incarceration. Number 3. Terrell Barkley. Terrell Barkley's mugshot showcased the horrific burns he suffered in a car crash in Bethlehem Township, Pennsylvania that killed 3 of his passengers during the early hours of May the 6th of 2016. Local police spotted the 28-year-old's vehicle speeding along Freemansburg Avenue. As he was tailed by an officer, Barkley reportedly reached speeds of up to 100 miles per hour. He eventually turned onto Willow Park Road, where he slammed into 3 parked cars, causing his own vehicle to burst into flames. He crawled out of the burning wreckage and collapsed in a fiery heap in a nearby garden. His passengers, Joshua Edwards, Amanda Martin, and Ashley Mosher, all in their late 20s, died from blunt force trauma. Police recovered a small bag of marijuana in Barkley's clothing and a gun, which investigators later learned was stolen. Blood tests revealed that Barkley had a blood alcohol level of 0.019%. The test also indicated that marijuana and bath salts were in his system at the time of the wreck. He spent 2 months at Lehigh Valley Hospital in a medically induced coma. He was then transferred to an Eastern Rehabilitation Center. Barkley left the center in early September of 2016 before authorities had formally charged him. Police subsequently put out a public appeal to locate him, and he surrendered on September the 14th. He wore a neck and arm brace and was covered in bandages. He faced charges that included homicide by vehicle while under the influence, accidents involving death with a suspended license, drunken driving, and illegal possession of a firearm by a felon, among other offenses. On November the 22nd of the following year, Barkley pleaded guilty to 3 counts of vehicular homicide while driving under the influence. He was given a state prison sentence of 12 to 30 years. Number 2. Lori Vallow. Notorious murder suspect Lori Vallow's latest mugshot, taken in March of 2023, sparked a frenzy among online sleuths who spotted a number of changes to her physical appearance since she was last arrested. Vallow from Rexburg, Idaho, had been in Madison County Jail since March of 2020 after she and her husband, Chad Daybell, were charged with 3 counts of murder. The couple, who were allegedly part of a doomsday cult, were accused of killing Vallow's 2 children, Tylee and JJ, along with Daybell's ex-wife Tammy. Tylee and JJ were last seen in September of 2019, and Tammy died of asphyxiation the following month. Vallow and Daybell never reported the children missing, and when they were questioned about it in November, they jetted off to Hawaii, where they got married. Early in 2020, Vallow was arrested in Hawaii and extradited back to Idaho, charged with desertion and non-support of her children. During a search of Daybell's home on June the 9th, Tylee and JJ's remains were recovered. Daybell was subsequently arrested and charged with destruction or concealment of evidence. On March the 22nd of 2023, Vallow was moved to Ada County Jail, where she was held in temporary custody. In her chilling mugshot, her appearance had drastically changed. Her eyebrows had been crudely drawn, her wrinkles were more pronounced, and the smile she flashed for her previous booking photo was nowhere to be found. A Twitter user joked that Vallow had aged 20 years since her arrest. Another said that her jailhouse makeup was something else. On May the 12th of 2023, Vallow was found guilty of all charges related to the killing of her children. 2 months later, she was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. As for Daybell, he remained in custody at the Fremont County Jail while awaiting trial. Number 1. Hazel Roas. An Illinois woman charged with DUI in West suburban Riverside gave the middle finger when police tried to take her booking photo. 44-year-old Hazel Roas was driving her Land Rover along South Harlem Avenue shortly before 3:30 a.m. on June the 17th of 2016. A Riverside police officer observed her neglect to proceed through a traffic light that had turned green. According to the police, when the officer pulled up behind her vehicle, she began driving well below the speed limit while straddling the traffic lanes. The police officer subsequently stopped Roas, at which point he smelled a strong odor of alcohol from inside the vehicle and on the woman's breath. Roas was given a field sobriety test, which she failed. When asked if she'd been drinking, she said that she hadn't and claimed that alcohol had spilled on her clothing earlier in the night. At one point, she reportedly lost her balance and almost fell into the arms of the officer. It was also discovered that she was in possession of diazepam. After being taken into custody, Roas refused to take a breathalyzer test. When she was told that she was under arrest, she began to verbally abuse the officers and told them she had friends on the force. She also complained of a shoulder injury and was taken to McNeil Hospital in Berwyn for medical treatment. However, no injuries were found, and she was then returned to police custody for booking. Police said that Roas made the booking process very difficult, refusing to have her picture taken. After displaying vulgar hand gestures, she spit and vomited in front of the arresting officers. In addition to the DUI charge, she was also charged with driving under the influence of drugs and cited for traffic violations. As part of the arrest, her Land Rover was impounded. Thanks for watching. Would you rather have a creepy smile or an annoying laugh? Let us know in the comments section below.